Okay, we'll start with this. I'm sure most of you have heard by now. Per tweet from Michael Benson, Tyson Fury has now tested positive for COVID, and so the Deontay Wilder trilogy will definitely be postponed from July 24th. It's reported that October 9th is the new target date. The news in reference to this story traveled fast, and it affects a lot of people.
Not exclusive to those involved with this fight.
Post-fight, after Gervonta Davis's debut at 140 pounds, he said he would be returning in October, presumably on a pay-per-view, and you have to wonder, will this fight landing in October, potentially landing in October, affect Gervonta Davis's fight?
His pay-per-view.
Eddie Hearn has come out saying that he spoke to Dillian Veit, and he is due to fight at the end of August, but he's ready to jump in on July 24th for Wilder.
I don't expect that to materialize into anything.
I don't expect the WBC to assist in moving their own ranked standings along, ordering a fight between Deontay Wilder and Dillian Veit, a defense of Dillian Veit's interim title to crown a mandatory challenger for the WBC title.
Because they said there ain't one.
Because they said they were going to wait until after Wilder versus Fury 3 to reconcile the mandatory situation.
Well, that's not going to be till October.
So why wait? Why not just do that now? Reconcile it now. Order Deontay Wilder to face Dillian Veit to move your ranked standings along.
They're not going to do that.
Of course not. Lance Pugmire tweeted, after winning the arbitration over Tyson Fury, when the champion sought to fight Anthony Joshua instead of finishing his trilogy, Deontay Wilder, the Bronze Bomber, is beside himself after this delay. He's quoted as saying, again now, he did wrong, and I'm the one being penalized. Wilder told his manager, Shelley Finkiel.
It's pronounced Chalet.
This is all becoming very tedious. It's all becoming very boring. There is a distinct lack of excitement coming from today's heavyweight division. I mean, it was already a big letdown for a lot of people, myself included, when the arbitrator ruled in Wilder's favor and the undisputed title fight was canceled. That was already a letdown. To some, this fight's cancellation is a letdown. Deontay Wilder's supporters, his fans mostly.
This fight being postponed.
I myself wasn't excited about this fight. I didn't want to see a third installment. I didn't want to see a trilogy, but at least it would have been over and done with. And now we've got to wait till October.
Wrap up this soap opera.
Meanwhile, the Anthony Joshua versus Alexander Usyk fight, that's not done yet. That hasn't been finalized. What's the holdup with that?
William White's looking to fight Jermaine Franklin.
Or Trevor Bryan. Neither opponent option is really all that exciting. And I understand his reasoning. I even sympathize with him, though I have to say, those matchups don't create much excitement for the division, now do they? There is a distinct lack of excitement in today's heavyweight division, given what news is coming from it.
Regardless of why.
Regardless of the reason. The reasons which we mull over periodically here on the channel as we discuss today's top boxing news. So Wilder's beside himself. That's what he's telling Shelley Finkel. And he feels like people are going to blame him for this when Tyson Fury is at fault. But we don't get here. That is, we never would have gotten here had you not given that guy a shot, had you not given that guy an opportunity. You know,
that's what set these events in motion.
I haven't forgotten the buildup of the first Deontay Wilder versus Tyson Fury fight and how it was Deontay Wilder's fans, his own fans, that were talking up Tyson Fury to make their engagement seemed like the more fiscally responsible engagement. The bigger fight, when we all know that it wasn't. The better fight, when it wasn't even the fight that we were asking for.
This was a substitute.
This was an alternative to an Anthony Joshua fight, but it was the Anthony Joshua versus Deontay Wilder fight that the world was asking for, the world was waiting for. And instead, the Wilder people thought it more prudent to face Tyson Fury instead. There were offers on the table for Deontay Wilder before that first Fury fight and after that first Fury fight. Every single time Deontay Wilder and his team placed more priority on this fight as opposed to that one. And Deontay Wilder's own fans, they supported him. They egged him on.
I didn't forget.
They wanted this more than Wilder versus Joshua.
I didn't forget.
Even now, some of Deontay Wilder's fans will still try to come up with creative ways to blame Anthony Joshua and blame Eddie Hearn for the fight having not happened when Wilder himself admitted they offered him more money to fight Anthony Joshua. He turned it down. He chose to fight Tyson Fury.
Look what happened.
Many of us have grown tired of mulling over these same particulars, these same details over and over to no end, to no avail. I mean, when does the dog and pony show end?
Because it needs to.
It's all becoming very tedious, very boring. It's not creating any excitement for the division, and it's not creating any excitement for the sport of boxing. Do you realize that there was actually more excitement in association with the Lopez versus Kambosos Jr. purse bid than the Lopez versus Kambosos Jr. fight? Nobody really cared about the fight that much. It's an ordinary fight, your run-of-the-mill title defense. The purse bid actually drew more attention than the fight itself. You think about how that was delayed due to COVID, as was this fight. At least that's the story.
You want to believe that?
Maybe you don't. Maybe you think there's more at work here than meets the eye. That this isn't about Tyson Fury and members of his team contracting COVID-19. What they're really doing is trying to buy more time to promote the fight, because there's not that much interest in it, or at least not as much as they anticipated. Tickets aren't moving the way that they wanted them to move, so they're moving the fight itself to the fall.
Maybe there's some truth to that.
But who really cares at this point? Who wants to keep mulling over the particulars of these situations? At this point, you just want them to be over and done with.
I don't even know what to think about this stuff anymore.
Bambi's beside himself because the fight got delayed. He should be thanking his lucky stars that this situation has bought him more time, since most people think he's just going to get his ass kicked again. And maybe if Tyson Fury actually does have COVID, maybe it'll soften him up for Deontay Wilder, since Wilder's fought him 2 times and he hasn't beat him yet. Maybe COVID can beat Tyson Fury,
Or at least soften him up.
so that Deontay will stand a chance, since a good number of people weren't giving him one based on his behavior and based on what happened in the second fight. Most people were convinced that he's going to go out there and he's just going to get his ass kicked again.
Maybe for him it's a blessing in disguise.
Or maybe it's just them moving a fight date because the tickets weren't selling. Your guess is as good as mine, though in truth, I've grown tired of guessing. This has become very tedious for me.
Whatever's going on.
Whatever's really going on. Not interested. One way or another, in one summer, the boxing community, the boxing fans, have been deprived of 2 major heavyweight title fights in one fell swoop in one summer. That's what's going on. And there is no excitement coming out of this division here and now.
For whatever reason.
And whoever you want to blame for it, for whatever reason you want to blame them, it all equates to the same thing. Another news per tweet from Michael Benson. Mayweather Promotions CEO Leonard Ellerbe on Gervonta Davis. He's quoted as saying, "Tank loves the UK fans. He always tells me, El, can you imagine me fighting at Wembley? I'd sell that bitch out."
Fight Mario Barrios you won't.
Leonard also stated, "Actually, Taylor is a very good fighter, but in my opinion, not special. I just watched the Ramirez fight and the Regis fight recently. Although the clear winner, the Taylor I saw in both of those fights, gets knocked the fuck out by Tank.
Tank that needed 12 rounds to knock out a one-legged Gamboa?
Or a Tank that needed 11 rounds to knock out an unheralded, untested Mario Barrios. Which one?
You can't look at this as trash talk.
Because it's not trash talk if you're not going to fight the guy. It's not trash talk when it's baseless.
When nothing comes of it.
All of a sudden, Leonard Ellerbe wants to appeal to the UK fight fans, since he's doing a good job of pissing off the American ones.
Awesome.
200,000 pay-per-views sold in a country this size, and you think he's a star. A population of approximately 330 million people in the United States. Over 1 million followers on Instagram, Gervonta Davis. Over 1 million. Yet only 200,000 people decided to buy his fight.
If that.
And you think that you can smoke, mirror, gaslight your way into the UK fight fans' wallets.
With that soft matchmaking.
Certainly not by turning your nose up at just the kind of fights that the fight fans want to see. The kind of fights that you haven't been having the last couple of years. To date, the very best win on Gervonta Davis's resume really is the Jose Pedraza win. And that win is what? 4 years old? 4 going on 5 years.
He's gonna sell out Wembley.
These guys are delusional. Delusional is what they are. And what they've managed to do is carve out a little lane for themselves where they can achieve nominal success, marginal, by matching Gervonta Davis against unheralded opponents.
What's the Mario Barrios fight run you?
What are the operational costs for a fight like that? What do the guaranteed purses look like? The numbers floating out there in the boxing cosmos indicate that Gervonta Davis was only guaranteed $1 million for that fight. Mario Barrios, even less. Half that, at about $500,000. You think you're going to lowball a Josh Taylor with that kind of guaranteed purse?
You're only the A side to unknown fighters.
You're always hearing Leonard Ellerbe talk about how Gervonta Davis is the proverbial A-side to everybody. Yeah, if everybody's Mario Barrios and Francisco Fonseca.
Hugo Ruiz.
Ricardo Munez's and the Jesus Cuellars of the world. Yeah, maybe you're the A-side to those fighters. But if you're the A-side to a Josh Taylor, then it's up to you to prepare an offer. It's up to you to send out the contracts and make the fight happen. That is, if you're the A-side.
Are you the A-side?
I'm not sure. You know that, at least based on what numbers are out there, Leo Santa Cruz was actually guaranteed a little bit more money up front than Gervonta Davis was. And what was Gervonta Davis's pay-per-view debut? That's right. Leo was guaranteed $1.5 million to Gervonta Davis's $1 million.
You weren't the A-side with Leo.
It seems like Gervonta Davis is only the A-side with unheralded guys you've never heard of.
Oh, even Josh Taylor could be the A-side to a Mario Barrios.
And he undoubtedly would be, or would have been, had Mario Barrios challenged Josh Taylor for the undisputed crown, as opposed to a Gervonta Davis in defense of a Reggie title, a regular belt.
Davis is only the A-side to unheralded fighters.
Guys who you've probably never heard of or have heard of, but are a little more than just cannon fodder for more well-known and more well-schooled fighters. Those are the only kind of guys Gervonta Davis is the A-side to.
If he's the A-side, why don't he send Devin Haney an offer?
Or Josh Taylor. Oh, right, because they're going to keep everything in-house. Thus, Gervonta Davis is under no obligation to make those fighters any offers, even though Leonard can't shut the fuck up.
But how Gervonta's the A-side to everybody.
Gervonta Davis's A-side status is an illusion that is further facilitated by them keeping him away from anybody that actually has a name, anybody that has any kind of real status of their own.
These guys are flim-flam artists.
They want to convince you that Gervonta Davis is a pay-per-view attraction, a pay-per-view star, for the simple fact that he's on pay-per-view, when the only reason that he's even on pay-per-view is because Showtime ain't got it in the budget to pay him the way DAZN would have paid him to fight Tevin Farmer. The people over there at DAZN were ready to give Gervonta Davis $7-8 million up front for that fight. Bear in mind, that wasn't a $7 or $8 million fight, but they were ready to give him that.
Crossover.
Showtime ain't got it in the budget to give Gervonta Davis $7 and $8 million to fight a Mario Barrios.
Of course not. They'd be pouring money down the drain.
So they're hoping that me and you will give it to him by buying his fights.
Except I'm not buying that shit.
Apparently, a lot of people aren't buying that shit. 200,000 pay-per-view buys in a country this size, and he's supposed to be a pay-per-view attraction? I don't think so. The only reason this fighter finds himself on pay-per-view is because Showtime's budget can't finance his foregone conclusion fights. So they're hoping that me and you will flip the bill. Back when DAZN first debuted in America, they were sending out all kinds of exorbitant offers to a lot of fighters. Offers to Gervonta Davis, offers to Jermiel Charlio. They gave Mikey Garcia $7 million to fight Jesse Vargas.
They wanted to make an impression.
They wanted to make a splash, and they did that. They managed to draw in some American talent over to their side of things. And since Showtime didn't want Gervonta Davis crossing over to DAZN, even for a one-off, they had to compensate him. Their way of doing that is putting him on pay-per-view. To finance the fights, they won't finance themselves because they know this kid ain't that hot a ticket.
You can't guarantee him but so much money up front.
The way you could with a bona fide pay-per-view attraction, because Gervonta, unlike a bona fide pay-per-view attraction, he can't bring it back. Not fighting the likes of Mario Barrios, he can't. You gotta put him in there with somebody more interesting. They don't want to put him in there with somebody more interesting because they don't want to risk him losing. It would cost you considerable more money to get a Devin Haney or a Teofimo Lopez over to your side of things. It would cost you more, and you'd have to hope that the pay-per-view does well, but moreover, you'd have to hope that Gervonta Davis can win the fight, because if he don't, your guy gets beat, and the other guy goes back over to his side of things, and you will have poured a considerable amount of money into this event, into this fight, just so that your guy would lose.
Could lose.
So why do that when you can amass marginal success matching him against the likes of Leo Santa Cruz's and Mario Barrios's? Those fights don't cost anywhere near as much to make.
Keep him safe, keep him in-house at the same time.
That's what they've been doing, and that's what they are going to keep doing. Leonard doesn't fool anybody. What Leonard Ellerbe hopes to do is to diminish Josh Taylor in the eyes of the boxing community. Diminish him as a fighter, diminish his legacy, to thereby diminish the expectation for Gervonta to fight him. But that expectation was created by Gervonta. In October of 2019, it was Gervonta Davis that said, after 135 pounds, I'll move up to 140 and fight Josh Taylor. Taylor. Over a year later, Gervonta Davis hasn't followed up on his word. Oh, he moved up to 140 pounds, he did, but not to fight Josh Taylor. Gervonta said after 135 pounds, I'll move up to 140 pounds, fight Josh Taylor. I meant after this fight being the Yuriorkis Gamboa fight of December 2019. Gervonta Davis didn't move up after that fight. He moved down to 130 to fight Leo Santa Cruz. He moves up after that, moves up to 140 pounds the way he said he would, but not to fight Josh Taylor. He fought Mario Barrios instead, who's a poor substitute. Now, back in 2019, Josh Taylor caught wind of these comments and said, "Put the drink down and sleep it off, wee man." To which Gervonta Davis replied, "I'm calling Al tonight." Josh Taylor responded by saying, "Call him then. They don't call me a hype job killer for nothing." And I don't know if Gervonta Davis did or didn't call Al, but what we do know is that when he moved up, it wasn't to fight Josh Taylor. This is yet another instance of Gervonta Davis talking a good one, but not delivering.
2019, that's how long this has been going on.
The Flim Flam artists, they live off this stuff. You hear Gervonta Davis in 2019 talking about how he's going to move up to fight Josh Taylor, only so that in 2021 his promoter, Leonard Ellerbe, can tell you why they're not fighting.
Then don't fucking fight him.
Be happy with your 210 or 215,000 pay-per-views sold, and
Keep up the good work.
you have managed to fool one or two people with what you're doing, that Gervonta Davis is the genuine article, that he's the real thing. One or two people. Not enough to make him a bona fide pay-per-view attraction, but enough that you can turn over a profit, a small one, a marginal one.
The rest of us want to see a fight.
The vast majority of us want to see a fight transatlantically in the United States and the United Kingdom. And unless that's what you're going to deliver between your fighter and Josh Taylor, we don't want to hear about it.
Since 2019, that guy's become undisputed.
What's your fighter done? Pick up a Reggie belt at 140 pounds? Whoop-de-fucking-do. If that's enough for you.
This is how you expect to sell out Wembley.
I honestly think they should avoid mentioning Josh Taylor altogether.
No, you're not going to fight him.